So this is my 7th year. Today actually marks the day of the beginning of my 7th year of being the campus minister with RUF. And what's cool too,
all overall are here
at UTSA.
Okay,
Yeah, this is my
cool.
13th year of being a campus minister. And today actually celebrates the 9th birthday of RUF at UTSA. So
Awesome.
We're going into the 10th year of RUF here. So it's kind of an exciting day and an exciting time to be doing this interview, and then also to be thinking of the future of RUF here. So
very cool. That's awesome. So tell me, if you can, let's go back a little bit more, if you don't mind. Just tell me a little bit more about your faith journey, like getting back even to the very beginning. What is your salvation story, and just tell me a little bit about your journey personally.
Yeah, sure. So I was raised in like a really morally upstanding household, really kind parents, really good community, very Christian on the surface. And I would say, I accepted Christ at a young age, at like age 5, age 6, something like that. So I was around biblical teaching for a lot of my life, but it really wasn't until college, really the beginning of college, that I took the faith as my own. And kind of mixed in with that faith journey is that I was really into sports. I was an athlete. I ended up being a collegiate athlete, but then I also did a sports medicine degree, and I was planning on being a doctor. And so as I was going through college and finishing out, I had dreams and aspirations of going to the medical field and doing things related to sports. But the Lord changed that pretty dramatically, like really at the very end of my time in college, and led me to seminary. And I had just had a huge heart for college ministry in particular. And so that's where he led me to RUF. And he led me to RUF really through my wife, who was coming out of doing the internship with RUF and had come to Christ through RUF at TCU. And so that's a huge part of my story. I mean, there's many things that I could say more about that I'm leaving out, but the Lord has really kept me in the collegiate world for a long time. I mean, I'm 42 now, and I love it. And I love walking with students through college and through all the things.
Cool. Can you for people wondering, or just in general, I'm wondering, like at what point, what was that kind of moment or that light bulb that said, I want to do this in ministry. I want to change course from, that doctoral sort of direction into this. What was, what did that sort of path look like?
Yeah. So the moment, I would say, is that I was doing like kind of like a VBS type ministry among students in Northern Ireland, actually.
Okay.
And when that was happening, I spoke with my college pastor at the time and just said, like, I really feel like I want to do something like this for the rest of my life. And he affirmed that. He was like, I really wanted you to kind of come to that conclusion. And so that was exciting to hear, validation from somebody else. But then I thought I was going to devote the rest of my life to Northern Ireland. And so it was very weird thinking on it like 19 years, that was actually 20 years ago, that's sort of where I thought my life was headed toward. And it ended up being, in the U.S. For this entire time, but doing college ministry among American students for the most part. So
very cool. Very cool. Awesome. So I'm going to transition a little bit to just, if you can, tell me a little bit about these past 9 years here. Mm-hmm. I got that right? 9 years here.
6 years here.
6 years here. What is the 9 years for?
So 9 years of RUF at UTSA.
Oh, so this is the 9th anniversary here at UTSA in general, but you got here 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So can you tell me a little bit about what that has looked like here at UTSA?
Sure. So doing the math on that, I started June 1st of 2020. So very interesting time in the world. I'm sure everyone kind of has a story of what, March, June, August of 2020 looked like for them. It was sort of like the, World War II of our era, probably. But yeah, I mean, that was an interesting time because as we were planning on coming here, everything was completely unknown. Like all that I knew that I was going to do is preach God's word to students, but I had no idea how that would look. At the time, there were only 3 students who were connected to our ministry because of many factors, but really, I mean, COVID really kind of blew everything up on campus. And at that time, we didn't even have access to this campus at all. So I was running a campus ministry out of my house for an entire year. And then for the following year, doing it mostly out of our house because there weren't as many students on campus.
Can you just talk a little bit about, and of course I want to get further on in the future, but can you just, is that generally how it works with like trying to get onto campuses? Is it like how does that process work, just trying to get into a place?
Yeah, so that is a different conversation depending on where you would go. But I will say that most of the time, a lot of the groundwork has been done on campuses, such that like a committee and a church would do all the work in order to make sure that you could be on campus from day one. So the way it's different is that typically like someone that doesn't have many students or has a handful of students would be able to meet a ton of students on campus and then be able to build a group immediately. And what we had was 3 students who would just come over to my house and would hang out. And because of that, there were just a lot of limitations. But a cool piece of that is that I really gained a love for knowing students like pretty intimately from the beginning and really growing with them over time. I mean, we had students that were dealing with some difficult things, jobs as well as just like huge uncertainties about the future. And so I was able to kind of just like walk with them during that time with no understanding what was going to happen next. So so that's sort of how it began, and it's gone from there. So.
And so can you take us forward now to kind of starting with 3 students and kind of being off campus, and can you just paint a picture of it, kind of what it looks like right this second, June 1st, 2026?
Yeah. So one thing I'll do, and I'll even talk about just the reason that we're having this conversation, Jeremiah Drake and Lee Wright, is because Javier Drake is part of our ministry at UTSA. He was connected through Jonathan Bendo at Christ Church, and it's because we have a ministry at Northwest Vista College as well. And that happened really on the back end of COVID, is that I was praying about other ways that we could reach the city and really reach other people, because so at UTSA, a lot of freshmen transfer out. It's called the CAP program. You can go to UT Austin if you do 1 year here, and you're a good boy or girl. You can go be a Longhorn. But a lot of students live here and they want to be here, and they never plan on moving away from San Antonio. And so I began to sense that, and I think the Lord just gave me an opportunity to do ministry among a kind of unique group of students at community college. And so in the spring of 2022, I started doing that. And over the course of the past 10 months or so, I've gotten to know Javi really well and love him and love investing in students there. So that group has in some ways been its own group, but several students have also been part of the ministry that is at UTSA. So a lot of students actually transfer over to UTSA, and so there's some carryover there. The way that it works now is that the shot that we were at a little bit earlier, sit down and I have a table, and a lot of times I have other students, and we end up kind of forming a community during Tuesdays and Wednesdays outside, getting to know other students, and then on Tuesday evening we have a dinner discussion that's kind of our main meeting during the week. And it's kind of the way that I term it is it's like an interactive sermon. I write a sermon, I write a lot of good content, but I also ask questions and want students to chime in. And so it ends up being a pretty spirited time with students. And so we do the dinner together. We have some conversation through the Bible, and it's a variety of things that we go through. Typically in the fall, it'll be something really simple, something about knowing Jesus and following him. In the fall, it'll be what I term like a wild card. And so it'll be maybe something in the Old Testament or going a little bit deeper into Paul's writings. So something to that effect. Yeah, so the interactive sermon is that like I essentially write a sermon. I try to provide the same kind of content that I would do on a Sunday morning, but I include a couple questions and opportunities for students to get to share things, as well as to like kind of put some pieces together on how the Bible is one big story or things like that. So it ends up being really fun.
Cool.
Most of the conversations end up being pretty spirited, in positive ways. Sometimes it can get debatey, but for the most part, it's really fun. And I think one really cool aspect of it is that we almost always have a lot of different perspectives. RUF is not the Presbyterian club, at least at UTSA. It's a group of lots of different types of people. We have non-Christians every single week that we have students. We have a lot of times Pentecostals that are part of our ministry, Catholics, some kids who are Reformed or Presbyterian, but it ends up being like a pretty broad group of people, and really like hungry students is sort of those are the kind of students that I end up attracting, and students that want to think deeply about the Bible and want to wrestle with things. So.
Sure. Yeah. And so like what outcomes are you hoping to come from these conversations and from the ministry, I guess just in general?
Yeah. I mean, from the conversations and from the relationships, I mean, we really want to see good church members. I think that's probably like the most beautiful thing that can happen is that one of the things that we talk about in RUF is the goals that we have really can't fully be understood until it's like 20 years down the road. So I would be like the product of one, like my generation of people from back in like 2006. And so we're looking at like 2046, which seems insane that it would be that far away. But yeah, so where are students in 2046? Are they members of their community? Are they good neighbors, like in the biblical sense? Are they investing in a church? We make sure that they know that RUF is not the church, that it's not a church, that this isn't like, you getting your religious check mark for the week, that you actually need to be invested in a local church, and that's a good and right and beautiful thing. And then, that they also have families and that they love them really well and really deeply. So those are things that I'm hoping to see and we're hoping to see. Also, so I'll tell you this: we have 4 words that we use to describe RUF, and it's welcome, declare, grow, and serve. And really, the last 2 are huge with this. So I'll go through all of them. Welcome. We want to provide the welcome of Jesus to every single person that interacts with RUF on this campus. And it can be as simply as like giving away snacks and being kind and loving, to like welcoming someone into my home and welcoming them into the community of RUF in deep ways. Declare. We also want them to know that like Jesus is the most important thing, and that we are unapologetically a Christian ministry. We're also not going to be jerks about it, but like there needs to be never a way that we're like disguising who we are. We're a Christian ministry and we love Jesus, and that's most important. But with these last 2, grow and serve, I think that's so important. And we're really kind of getting on the very beginning of those journeys. So there are statistics like Barna Research, other places, that the amount of spiritual growth percentage-wise that happens in college is the greatest, or has the greatest potential. And it can happen the other way too, is that you can see someone like depart from the church and leave Christianity during college because of experience or because of their own family. And so our hope and our desire really is to see like students grow, and for them not only to intellectually grow, but for their hearts to grow and really like explode and get excited about who Jesus is, and then to serve. there's a misunderstanding for a lot of students that they have to go and be missionaries elsewhere, or they have to give everything away in order to serve, or even that they have to be a particular type of major. And we have a lot of engineering students who I think can think that way a lot of times. And in doing this, we're saying you can serve your friends, you can love them really well. And so with that, hospitality is really important. We have a special needs ministry that we invest in as a ministry and really kind of support. And then we have other ways that we try to kind of show students ways that they can help and they can serve in the community. So those things I think are not, they're not super specific, but they're ways that we want students to change, I guess, in this time.
Yeah. Excellent. Awesome. So obviously Christ Church San Antonio supports RUF here at UTSA. And so when we give you all that kind of support, what does that mean for your ministry in the first place?
Yeah, no, it's a huge help. Church support ends up being the backbone of the ways that we exist, because RUF doesn't exist without people giving, without churches giving, and so it's a huge help. It's been a huge support for us. So yeah, I mean, this ministry isn't funded by RUF. It has to be funded by churches and by individuals that help out. So that's the only way that we exist.
Good. And again, this I might be wrong, but does that mean basically you can focus on ministry and do the ministry that supports you and your family being able to do that as a job, or does that also does that support the ministry in other ways?
It has it has huge impacts. I would say it probably funds the dinner discussion I was talking about on Wednesday nights.
Okay.
And so the ability, and we use, which this is a free ad for anyone that wants it, for Schlotzsky's, the buy one get one free pizzas on Wednesday nights are great for families, and it's great for our ministry because that's the way that students are fed every week. And so that ends up being the way that we're able to provide for students, but then also do the ministry side of things. And so yeah, that certainly helps. I mean, I do have to go out and raise roughly 50% of my budget in order for me to get paid, but then also for the ministry stuff to function. And
so tell me a bit more about how you do that.
I mean, conversations like this, but other just one-on-one conversations with people, writing letters. I sometimes will have meetings with a group of people and have conversations and just kind of tell them our need and sort of what where we're going with that. But I think that the big piece of it really, and as a person who also supports other ministries, is that you just have to have trust that the people that you're giving money to are actually doing what they say that they're doing. And so
for sure,
that has to be a huge piece of it. I know that our friends that we're supporting in Scotland, I actually just got off the phone with it was a former student, and he was kind of trying to explain to me all the things that he was doing, and I I stopped him and I was like, look, we know that what you're doing is good and is right. So that's a big piece of it, and much of that is just being involved with people's lives. And I'm grateful to have been able to preach multiple times at Christ Church and have gotten to know several families. And so thank you all for just being a warm and hospitable and loving church. So
yeah. Well, we are honored, of course. I'm just trying to get even a bigger picture of okay, here at UTSA, how much does it cost to run this ministry all together?
Mm-hmm.
What's that? you just say, I guess we'll just say annually, what are all the costs? You know, I mean, I just, you know, a big ballpark number of, you know, all the ministry, all the pieces that come together.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I mean, just, you know, share as much as you can.
So ideally it would be $195,000. I have like cut our budget in order to like make it so that I didn't have to spend so much time of fundraising and having to just constantly go out and raise money. So I've cut it to like $181,000. So we're at $181,000, and that's a pretty skimpy budget. It allows me to, but it still allows me to do the ministry stuff and love on students and, you know, do all the other stuff that I.
So I'm hearing in a more ideal world, maybe $15,000 to $20,000 more per year would just make life a little simpler for this ministry, more comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it would, and I think it would also like allow us to reach out to other students too. So yeah.
Precisely. Well, which is the whole point, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is the whole point. Well, and so that kind of gets us into the topic for the next little bit is like, in addition to the monetary ways that we're obviously working with you all, what are some of the maybe non-monetary ways that we can support, get involved with you all here at RUF?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is to connect people with alumni who have some kind of like similarity with other students. So, I mean, we're in like a new age where like AI is taking over, where students are really kind of lost as they're finishing out college, and so it's not as simple as like go apply for a job and you'll get one. So any ways to get connected with members who have, you know, similar backgrounds as other students. I mean, two examples that come off the top of my head is we had a mechanical engineering student who ended up getting connected with someone at our church. He ended up getting a job on campus through a company, and then did a PhD here, and it was all just relational. And then another one was a student that is doing pre-law. He's Indian American, and got connected with someone from another church, actually in Kerrville, but he lives in San Antonio, and that's opening up a lot of doors for him too. So. It's not the easiest thing because a lot of students they would be a little bit awkward like getting to know an adult at times, but they also know that like they really need it. They need to get to know like older people. They need to invest in relationships, and so those kind of things are just incredible. And then if you have a home that's like relatively close to campus and we want to host something. We're kind of like bringing this back, but we've done these themed dinners of because we have students from different cultures that are part of our ministry, and so any ways that students can come and cook in your home would be really fun. So my wife is Italian American, so we're making a big Italian meal this summer, but we have Indian, Dominican, Mexican, you know, all sorts of other backgrounds of people that are like, yes, I want to cook food, you know, and if you like good food, then that would be a good thing. I mean, those are the two main ones. I'm always open if someone wants to contact me and says like, hey, I have this idea, feel free. But you know, those are the two that kind of pop in my brain immediately.
Obviously, yeah, awesome. I think those are super practical ways that we can help you.
And also let me add this too.
Yeah, do it.
You know, the more that students are engaged with churches as well, the better. You know, there was like a stat in France that it took like 20 Christians for a non-Christian to like come to faith over the course of several years. And we're at like almost that kind of like cultural, like, you know, secular point with a lot of students. And so the more openness that churches have to college students, the better. One of the challenges with that is that college students are not always going to be the most faithful type of church members, in the sense that like they might not come every week. They might fall asleep during the service. You might have to like deal with someone being hungover. You know, there's all sorts of like barriers that could be there, but I just think that the churches that have a heart for students are just a beautiful place. And so I think just the awareness of like there might be college students here, and in any ways that someone that comes in, even if it's like a student that's been involved in the church, can get connected to RUF, the better. And I'm also a person who loves the church, and I'm never going to like yank a person out of a local church in order to be involved with RUF. Nor do I want them to like not attend church or not be involved with something that the church is doing one night when we do things. So I always want to defer to the local church itself.
Awesome.
So.
Again, I think probably what I will do is maybe create a Google form and put a QR code for people like at the end of this video, maybe to say, hey, I'd be willing to host or blah, blah, blah. Maybe just some very practical things that at least, people who might be available or willing to help out that way.
And maybe even if you have like a QR code that has like the what's it called, e-newsletter, so that they can also be involved with the prayer.
I'll do that too.
That's a piece that's huge
for sure. Yeah, and that which leads nicely to what specific things, I think, as we kind of wrap up our conversation, what specific things would you want Christ Church to pray for this ministry here at UTSA and all the ministries you're involved in?
Yeah. I mean, I think a big one is just like student leadership and figuring out how to navigate that. And it's complex. Like, we actually have more guys than girls involved in our ministry right now, which is a sweet and a really good thing. So the prayer on the guys' side is figuring out how to be wise with some of these guys that we have involved, and how to use them well in ministry. And then on the female side is like how to bring in female students, how to encourage them. I'm encouraged because I have finally a female Bible study leader who's going to be helping out this year. But ideally we just need more. So just some wisdom there, but then also for the Lord to raise up people in sweet ways to serve the ministry of RUF. So those are big ones. Pray for the freshman class of 2026. I mean, I think they're expecting their largest enrollment this year. So there's going to be a lot of new people, a lot of new faces that come in. Pray for students to get connected, specifically to RUF, but to other ministries as well. Pray for, I think this too. We have some international students who are part of our ministry right now. It's pretty hard to be an international student right now in America, and so there's a couple who are pregnant, and they could really use just a lot of deep prayer for their baby that's due in August, but then also what the future looks like for them. And then a student from the UAE, and a student from China, and a student from Brazil. So just pray for those students as they're like navigating kind of what the world looks like for them, and being here. So and then for my family, I mean, I'll have 2 middle schoolers this year, so I'll have 8th, 6th, and 4th grade. We spaced them out perfectly where they were either even or odd numbers every year, and so pray for my kids as they're journeying into their school years and activities and all sorts of things. So
very cool. Any last thing that you would want to say to the congregation, encouragement or exhortation, or anything just from you personally to them?
Yeah, you threw me off when you said exhortation. I'm like, why would I exhort the congregation? I mean, I just thank you guys for your like support for many years and care for RUF. I'm really excited for y'all with having a new pastor, and just kind of looking forward to like what the next era looks like at Christ Church. And I mean, I'm hopeful that like we see some students coming in, because I know that Javi is a leader and that he really loves the church, and so I'm hopeful that he starts bringing his friends into church. And I hope you guys get to know some other students that are that are from RUF. So I don't know. I don't have much. Just thank you all.